Thank you. Thank you so much for that kind introduction, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this very important series of conversations at this very critical moment in history. It's interesting that we are having this conversation just a few days from an event that occurred in the US, the so-called Summit of the Americas, hosted by the United States of America, and theoretically a meeting that was supposed to attract and gain the participation of nations across our region. But of course, that didn't happen. And I start with this because this is related, I think, to our conversation today, because, you know, it's quite clear that the US, with its allies, and one of its main allies being Britain, they're not going to be persuaded to abandon their objective interests, to utilize other approaches to attempt to try to maintain US and European hegemony outside of the decision that they have made to use military force in order to maintain that hegemony. What is going to be required, my friends, is a more effective global political opposition. Now, that opposition is difficult to achieve, especially as we see how events have unfolded in Europe around the issue of Ukraine and the kind of solidarity that was generated among Europeans vis-a-vis Ukraine and actually the rest of the world, because we saw that there was a clear line of demarcation between the support for this unnecessary, this manufactured war in Ukraine, the sanctions against Russia, and the rest of the world, the global South, the majority of the people. And even when it became clear that this ongoing conflict was having a detrimental impact on the vast majority of the world, the US and European powers persist. They have placed their interests above the interests of collective humanity. So the only response that we have is a more effective opposition. In the US, when the US decided that they were going to exclude the participation in the Summit of the Americas of Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, we didn't moan. What we did, we engaged in counter-organizing. The Black Alliance of Peace, for example, we called on the nations of the Americas to boycott this gathering. We said that the US had completely disqualified itself as a host for this meeting, that you can't pretend to be a partner and a hegemon. It is quite clear from US policies in the region, from subversion to direct intervention, that US had no intention in being a partner. It was committed to its hegemonic position in this region. So we have to respond by developing a more effective opposition. We say that we have to shift our attention to imperialism. We have to encourage our friends and partners in various countries, including the UK, to be more intentional, more effective in developing this popular opposition. We have to put onto the table some very difficult questions. For example, what we saw generated with the support around Ukraine is a sort of a cross-class white supremacist movement, something that I refer to as the White Lives Matter More movement. So this issue of white solidarity, European solidarity that people like Zelensky refers to, Europe, Europeanness, the West, they have to be challenged. If we don't challenge them effectively, We're never going to be able to undermine the credibility of formations like NATO. We're never going to be able to move the people and move policies away from popular support for militarism and war. We're never going to be able to undermine the ability of the US and Western Europe to continue to be a threat to collective humanity. So my friends, as I join you in these series of conversations, my position is going to be relatively sort of a broken record. We have the analysis. I'm so honored to be on this panel with all of these brilliant folks. And so we have the analysis. We've got to figure out how to be more effective in ensuring that our analysis is translated to the ground, how we can more effectively support the development of more effective anti-war, anti-imperialist movements, because that's the only and most effective weapon that we have for us. All of these international command structures by the U.S., this role that Britain plays as a lapdog to the U.S., the only way we're going to reverse this is through popular organization. So that's my message, my friends. I'm going to, like the rest of you, continue to listen and take notes so that we can sharpen our analysis and sharpen our ability to explain this. But in the end, this information has to be transferred to the ground. We have to build more effective base building grassroots organizations to engage these folks, because they are committed to power and they're committed to do whatever they need to do to maintain their power. And the only response we have is more effective oppositional people power. So thank you again for allowing me to be part of this. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the conversations.